Welcome inside for another edition of SJHL Weekly. I am your host, Clark Munroe. We're here at the IKS Media Studios. We got a big show for you today. We're shorthanded. Nugsy took a 2-minute penalty, so he's in the penalty box. But we'll handle it without him regardless. We're going to have a good show for you today. We're going to recap the 9 games from over the weekend. Look ahead to a busy week. We got the Showcase coming up this week in Winnipeg, so a lot going on there. So we'll preview that one final time as practices are actually getting underway later today, or probably as the show is on the air. So stay tuned for that. Obviously, 6 games over the next 2 days at the Showcase in Winnipeg. So we'll preview that one final time for you. And then we'll be joined by voice of the Melville Millionaires and Yorkton Terriers, Benny Walchuk, and he also does some work in the Manitoba Junior League as well. So we're going to hear from his perspective on maybe some of the Manitoba Junior League stuff from the Showcase as well. But before we get too deep into all this, we want to make sure we thank all of our sponsors, of course, Bourgault, Cantera Seeds, Capital Automall, Sask Lotteries, Chevrolet, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, Nutrien, Tourism Saskatchewan, Sask Energy, UPL, SGEU, Great Western, SGI, and RBC. Huge shout out to RBC as those community ambassador programs are really popping off right now. There's lots happening with RBC game nights, so big shout out there. And big shout out to this guy because he didn't take a penalty and in the penalty box. Rory McGouran is with me today.
Clean game.
Clean game.
Yep.
You know, Rory's one of those most sportsmanlike candidates every year. You know, he doesn't take too many penalties. He's always on the ice. He's the Mason Buchert of the SJHL Weekly
High
show.
praise.
Yeah.
High praise, thank you.
Rory, it was a big weekend on the football field. There's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
I know people were paying attention to that. You had how many games did you have?
0.
You didn't have. Oh, this was your weekend off.
0,
We
yeah.
talked about this last week. This was your weekend off. So what'd you get up to?
It was a basketball football weekend. My stepson Ryder had a basketball tournament in Melfort, so I was in an SJHL city, but watching basketball instead. And then we were just back at home hanging out. Carter, the assistant coach, his wife Bobby as well, checking out the football games. I was just really hoping for those 2 teams, the Chiefs and the Eagles, to not meet in another Super Bowl. We just go back and forth. I'll still watch it, don't get me wrong. But I mean, I wanted Washington or Buffalo to squeak in, and they didn't.
It would have been fun.
You know,
it
is what it is, and I'll still watch it.
I was telling Rory before this, I had a hockey game yesterday afternoon, and I felt great for the game. Like I was a little worried. I was busy a lot for the weekend. I was worried my legs were going to be exhausted. Got out there, felt great. And I scored 2 goals, not bragging, because it was a very low-level senior men's game, so I'm not bragging here. But I scored 1 highlight reel goal that I wish I could have got the recording of because, boy, it was probably the prettiest goal I've ever scored in my life.
You probably surprised yourself.
I did. I literally scored, and I was like, what just happened? Like, I was like, how did I do that? It was like a between-the-legs spinorama between 3 guys, toe-dragged another guy, and then shot it, and the goalie wasn't even ready for it. So I was like, holy cow. I was doing this, you know the Chicago Bulls security guard? I was like, what? Anyways, don't have to brag too much more.
You didn't showboat it a bit?
I showboated a little bit,
but... You gotta milk it in?
I was like, yeah, okay.
A little Merrick Malik
I
celebration?
should have did a windmill or something like that.
Patrick Kane Showtime, maybe?
At the time, we were up like 9-2, so...
Probably should just let it go.
Yeah. I thought, what would Rory McGouran do? Because he's so sportsmanlike, and I didn't do that.
Exact opposite.
You would have showboated it a little bit?
Yeah, 100%.
Before we get going too far, we love hearing from you, our fans. So make sure if you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, please make sure to engage with those channels and platforms. Hit the like button, hit the share button. We want to hear from you in the comments section. If you're on Twitter, hit the retweet button. That always helps us out a ton, and you help this league grow as much as possible. Let us know what you guys got up to this weekend. Did you watch football? Were you at the rinks watching the SJ games? Let us know in the comments what you guys are up to.
Or if there's some SJHL players currently on buses or however getting towards, I'm assuming a lot of them are on the road right now. You know, as long as you're not driving, you know, tune in.
Let us know.
Anticipation about the Showcase, what you expect. Maybe some other players that you'd want to be on a line with, because we're going to break that down. That'd be really cool.
That'd be cool.
But safe travels to everyone going to Winnipeg as well.
I know for a fact, Nugsy, we joked about him earlier. He's driving Marco Georgievich right now. I saw that Coach Drew Kosher is driving Kieran Ronan and Kent Moores from Estevan to the Showcase. I think I saw somebody else post something about their players are all traveling right now.
I can't vouch for Drew and the Estevan Bruins representatives, but if Nugsy's not watching this show, handing a phone to Marco and telling him to comment in, I'm going to be very upset.
Yeah, well, let's open up. I'll open up the social feeds on my computer just so I have them open, because I don't want to miss anything. And I know our guys in the back will put up all of the comments from viewers throughout the show. So we want to hear from you guys. So let us know what you want to talk about today.
at what point does Marco just put the headphones on and just tune Nugsy out?
Tune Nugsy out?
Yeah, like
I don't know.
the casual headphones on.
Yeah, you're right.
Like
Bryce,
5 minutes in.
You're totally right.
Nugsy's a good travel partner. He's usually got some solid snacks. His music selection's pretty decent. He could fall asleep from time to time on a long road trip, from what I've heard.
Yes.
But usually pretty good guy to travel with.
I have 2 stories about that really quickly. Oh, Mark Neugebauer is checking in, which is weird because that's Marko Djordjevic. So he said, it's Marco here, we're listening. So I don't know who the heck Mark Neugebauer is. Jamie, are you in your brother's account?
I don't know what's happening.
That's fun. Either way, let us know. So Marco is listening.
Beautiful.
Hi, Marko Djordjevic. Good luck to this week. That'll be fun. But yeah, 2 stories really quick, and then we'll get into the actual stuff that people want to hear about. Jeremy Corrigan, shout out to Jeremy, was driving with Nugsy to a playoff game, I think it was maybe 2 years ago now, because Jeremy wasn't here for the playoffs last year. And he said when they were driving back from the game that they were at, it was like 12 minutes into the drive.
Which might have been from Flin Flon.
Nugsy was out. And Jeremy's like, well, there goes my road trip discussion to get back.
And this is from Flin Flon with no service, nothing else to do but to talk to your road trip partner.
Yeah, nothing else.
Out in 12 minutes.
Yeah, it was like 12 minutes and he was out and snoring. And then for me, my story is we went to that Humboldt-Melfort series last year and we were in Humboldt and we were driving back from that. Nugsy was sick. And he had been working a lot. Like, when the playoff time comes, guys, the media side of things is insane. It's day after day after day and of late night recaps, all these things. Nugsy was running like 4 straight days, barely any sleep. He was not feeling very good. So on the drive back, he was driving, and he was like, Clark, he like pulled over slowly. He's like, I don't feel good. Can you drive? I was like, yeah, of course I'll drive for you. And so I drove his car halfway back at least.
Did he sleep?
From Humboldt. He fell asleep.
He's got 2 little kids too.
Yeah.
Plus with the grind.
Like I said, it was the grind. I don't blame him whatsoever. And I was feeling good, so we drove back home. We handled it. It was all right. Teamwork.
We're really slipping on our opportunity to talk about It's all positive about Nugsy when he's not on the show. I feel like that's a failed opportunity since we have free reign to do the opposite. But we're not going to.
Air your grievances in the comments now. If you hate Nugsy or want to say something mean, now's the time. No, we can't do that. But if you do put in a comment, we will read it. Let's have a look at the score recaps from Friday and Saturday. We'll start with Friday, of course. There was 5 games in action. Kindersley snuck one out in Estevan over the Bruins, 5-4 in overtime. Weyburn got a huge win over Flin Flon, 3-2 in overtime. Again, Flin Flon's streak did not end because they still have an undefeated in regulation streak going after that one, but Weyburn did get a huge win. Yorkton got a win. Nipawin kept it tight, though, 3-2 in Yorkton. Melville got a big win over Battleford, 6-3. That really helps their playoff push right now for positioning. And Melfort with a big 6-4 win over La Ronge in a very high-scoring affair. And then on Saturday, there was only 4 games. Estevan did get their first win with new head coach Drew Kosher, so shout out to Drew, who again I hope is listening to the show. Shout out to Drew, 7-4 win over Kindersley in the rematch, of course. Nipawin, holy Cazolis, with a 4-1.
What?
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Bryce. You got anything else for me, Bryce? I know he does.
Little John's good enough.
Yeah! Okay. Yeah, exactly.
More Little John, yeah.
Yeah, Nipawin 4-1 win over the big-time Melfort Mustangs. That's the 12th. Thank you. Yes. That's the 12th place team against the first place team. Big upset there. Flin Flon got back to their winning ways with a 7-1 win over Notre Dame. And then Weyburn in a heavyweight matchup, high-scoring affair, 6-3 win over Yorkton. And we're going to talk about some of these things a little bit more in detail now. We'll start, though, Rory, with those Nipawin Hawks, because that's a huge win at home in front of the home crowd, the Hawks faithful. And we're titling this one, as we bring up the headlines here for the weekend, David. Now, if you don't know who David is, Melfort's Goliath. So if that helps, yeah, there you go. Rory, take it away, because this was a big game for Nipawin.
Guys, I also got to say, the foghorn, if we could pepper that in a little more throughout the show, I'd be really appreciative of it.
One. Yeah.
Even in just like normal, mundane things we're saying, right? Nipawin plays Yorkton on Tuesday. I'd love it just spiced in whenever we really can.
Yeah, Finley Radloff won a face-off in the 3rd period.
Oh, okay. The Nipawin Hawks, the David over the Goliath this weekend. It is The biggest underdog win in a long time, right? Even if you want to think that we all do. Anyone in the SJHL can beat anyone in the SJHL, but we got to put merit where it's deserved, and that is the biggest underdog win, not just this season. So let's go back. Let's start the segment before we break down what it means to either side with when was the last time this kind of happened. And of course, midway through the season, obviously standings change and new team jumps into 1, new team falls into 12th place. So when was the last time at the end of the season, right, when looking at the standings, who was in first, who was in 12th? Go back through their regular season games that the 12th place team beat the first place team. Well, it wasn't crazy long ago, but it still was an impressive stretch without it happening. 21-22 season, Weyburn over Estevan. Weyburn last, Estevan first. The final game of the regular season, a 4-3 overtime victory, which you probably remember, for the Weyburn Red Wings. Then I went, well, overtime, final game of the year. I forget if Estevan even dressed their whole team, right? So let's go back.
That was their championship year.
Yes, it was. Let's go back and let's find the last time a 12th place team beat a first place team in regulation. And this one blew my mind. You got to go all the way back to Friday, November 8th. Are you ready for this?
No.
2013.
Oh my God.
12 years ago. It's been sweeps for 12 years between the first seed and the 12th seed at the end of the year. L'Orange beat Yorkton by what score? Guess it?
Oh, God.
4-1.
4-1.
The exact same score. 12th place L'Orange beats first place Yorkton in 2013.
Was that at home for L'Orange?
I'd have to go back and check. I think it was in Yorkton.
Okay.
But again, so a long time. And that's just what Nipawin did. So what does it mean for the Nipawin Hawks, who snapped an 11-game losing streak against the best team in the league, and really, 12-year regulation record that was standing? That's never happened. Well, we talked about it when they didn't trade Vito Biondo and brought in a 20-year-old goaltender. It wasn't Trakakis and net, it was Gage Roberts who stopped 27 shots to pick up that big win, where Nipawin was heavily outshot. But winning's fun, Clark, right?
Yeah.
Winning is fun. It's mentally charging. It's emotionally rebuilding. Hey, man, it's not just that dressing room, which I would have loved to have been in Nipawin after beating Melfort, a division, their biggest rival.
Yeah.
They're
very close
teams.
together. For those who don't know, what are they within?
Rivalry.
It's like an hour and a bit drive.
Oh, less
hour
than
and a
an hour.
half.
Yeah.
Is it less than an hour?
It's 55 minutes, maybe.
Exactly. So
yeah,
it's
very close. To beat them in that dressing room, I can't believe how awesome that was for the Hawks. The next practice is going to be fun. The next bus ride is going to be fun, right? Everything's going to build from that. And we talked about that mentality of winning going into next season. Wanting the players that are going to be there again next year to have, more of a winning culture than a last place finish, which can be tough, right? It's tough to get that snowball rolling. Well, wins like this, they're going to remember this win for the rest of the year, hopefully into next year. And for the Melfort side, what does it mean for them? I don't really think anything.
Yeah.
I don't take away too much. A bit of a character build because, we're going to win that game 9 times out of 10, but we maybe can take some things out of it. Coaching staff can build some things out of it to make sure that it doesn't happen again. I don't see a lot of bad habits to me. They had Nipawin had 12 shots and still won the game. It was an off night for Christian Coombs. They didn't have Riley Kotai, and their power play couldn't bail them out like it did in that first meeting back in Nipawin about a month ago. So, nothing for Melfort. We talk about in this league that every team can beat every team on any given night. It's still, for me, who can beat the Melfort Mustangs 4 times out of 7 games. Yeah. 1 game, 1 loss to the Nipawin Hawks doesn't change that. But yeah.
Think back a couple years ago, Rory, just playoff. We're talking playoffs now. Playoffs?
Playoffs.
I know he's got it.
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs?
Yeah.
You kidding me?
Kidding me?
Playoffs?
Exactly. We remember Battleford's in their huge year, and Weyburn beat them in the first game, and everyone's like, "Oh wow, look at this!" They didn't lose a game the rest of the way. So, like you said, for Melfort, is this one of those things where it's like, okay, are they going to not lose a game the rest of the way? There's a chance. You know what I mean? That's the kind of team that they are.
No one responds like them,
right,
like the Melfort Mustangs did. Do you want to know the last time they lost 2 games in a row?
Have they?
The finals last year. They haven't.
I was going to say.
After every loss, they have a dominating victory the next game. So it's just another page in the Melfort Mustangs championship building year that they're hoping to repeat. You're going to suffer some losses like this. Unexpected to the Nipawin Hawks. Yes. Underdog win. Congratulations to the Hawks. Yes. But Melfort has been showing that they respond to these losses all the time. They haven't lost 2 games in a row until Flin Flon in the finals. And at that point, they had a 3-0 series lead. Right. Flin Flon wins game 4, game 5. Melfort responds by winning the championship in game 6. 6.
Yeah.
They haven't lost 2 games since. So really, I don't put anything on Melfort other than a little bit of a character build. Off night for their goaltender. Happens.
Yeah.
And then for the Nipawin Hawks, let's see if they can build, right?
Yeah.
Because that's a rivalry, big victory.
Yeah.
And they did only had 12 shots, but they capitalized on 2 of 3 power plays. They shut down all 4 of Melfort's power plays, including 7 minutes to start the game. A 2-minute minor and then a 5-minute major. 7 straight minutes of power play time by Melfort. Nipawin shut that down. And then 3 straight Melfort power plays in the third period. Nipawin shut down beginning power plays and ending power plays to make sure they secured that victory. So that's kind of my takeaways from that. But really cool story when you look back that it hasn't happened in 12, 13 years.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And, they have Melville twice this weekend, a home and home with Melville twice, and then Flin Flon next week. And then guess who they play the weekend after that? Melfort again. A home and home with Melfort next weekend. So, you know what? It'll be interesting. I love to see it. And, one of the things that I'll take away from this game is it was at home, right? In Nipawin, in front of the home crowd. And we had Kyle McIntyre on SJHL Insider last week. And Kyle was glowing about the Nipawin fan base and the community, how they've gotten behind this team. And it's tough given Nipawin, they've had some success over the last few years. This is a bit of a rebuilding year. We've talked about that a lot, but it's an exciting team. And Kyle told us the numbers he's gotten anyways from Nipawin is that their ticket sales are up actually 30% in Nipawin this year from last year. So that's huge. And a game like this, Rory, is only going to get the community talking. It's going to get the coffee shops buzzing. It's going to get the water coolers buzzing. Everyone's going to talk about it, and it's great, and we love to see it.
Well, you don't think there's people in Nipawin that have friends that are in Melfort?
Right.
Brothers,
or
sisters,
they
family
work
members,
together
work-related,
probably.
right? And
yeah.
Of course, you got the upper hand now. You got something to talk about until the next meeting, and that's awesome. That's what it's all about.
Honestly, probably it's the rest of the season doesn't matter. In 2 weeks when they play again, if Melfort wins both those games, the Nipawin fans will still say, yeah, but we got you a couple weeks ago. That's all that matters.
And I mean, if it wasn't for 3 power play goals in the last time they were in Nipawin, Nipawin was up in that game 2-0 for the first 40 minutes.
Yeah,
Melfort
exactly.
scores three third period power play goals to win that game 3-2 in Nipawin. So this one, they just didn't let get away from them once they had that lead.
There you go. Love it. Love to see it. Let's move on. Headlines, we can bring those back up again. Put some wind under those wings, Rory. Let's talk about it. The Waving Red Wings, they're taking off a little bit. What do you got for them?
I like the way you read that. I was hoping when I punched it in there that you were like,
put some wind under those wings.
Yeah, put some respect on that name. Put some wind under those wings.
Yeah,
right?
we're talking Red Wings.
Well, before in this season, right, I don't think we've really had them in the upper echelon, which we considered up until January 27th, which is today, Flin Flon and Melfort.
Yeah.
Right? We've had them in that maybe second tier, Yorkton, Battleford's kept in there for a bit, Weyburn in there. That's where we tiered them. So the question is, put some wind under those wings. Is Weyburn in that upper echelon? And I don't mean, are they going to finish first? Are they going to finish second? Would you give them the same odds to win a championship from here on out with Flin Flon and with Melfort, who we can agree are in that top class of the SJHL?
Right.
And I'd say, well, I have about 17 zeros here, but 100% plus 15 more zeros on the end of that.
Weyburn, you're in.
They're in the upper 3. I don't think they're going to pass those 2 in the standings. You're going to have to get through 6. You're probably, if Flin Flon and Melfort advance to the second round, going to have to go on the road and lose your home ice advantage, right? But I would say their chances to win the championship are just as good as Flin Flon and as Melfort right now. Hey, they're 3-1 against Flin Flon this year. They're 1-1 against Melfort with 2 games remaining. They're done against Flin Flon with a winning record, by the way. And they're just getting better as these games get harder and more playoff-like. To me, that's a championship team. I think they've had their lumps already. They've had their bumps. It was at the beginning of the year. They got some guys in. They went on a little bit of a slide. 9-1 in the month of January, when we know that the intensity ramps up, and it's only getting better as it gets closer to the playoffs. They have the top 2 SJHL leading scorers in Maharaj and DK, the SJHL leading defenseman in Max Chakrabarty, the 2 leading power play scorers in Chakrabarty and Maharaj, top half power play, top 3 penalty kill, first place in goals per game, third place in goals against per game, and a top 3 goaltender in all important categories: saves, wins, goals against average. Weyburn doesn't have to do anything else to me, as of what they've done so far, to say that they are as good to win the championship as those other top 2 teams right now that are the betting, if there was, favorites in the SJHL.
Yeah.
They're there.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And I think I fully agree with you, Roy. They have proven everything. They have the numbers to back it up. Angelo Zoll, like you said, has taken the opportunity now that Dazza Mitchell's not in town. He's taken it and run with it. He's winning SJHL Goalie of the Week every other week, pretty much. It's him and Matthew Keeper switching off pretty much every week right now. And they faced off in Weyburn this weekend, and what a game that was. Again, we mentioned it earlier, Weyburn got the 3-2 win in overtime, as you see Max Chakrabarty's goal there to win it. Timely goal highlight there. Thank you, Bryce. I know that he had nothing to do with the timing of that, but it worked out great. Also, you got to give a shout out to Jackson Ruthven, a guy who has 42 points. He's 11th in league scoring right now, 21 goals. They have such a balanced lineup top to bottom. They made the additions and changes throughout the year, getting a guy like Josh Sale in the Dazza Mitchell trade to balance the lineup even more. The list goes on and on. Were we worried about their defense a little bit earlier on in the season? Maybe, but they've seemed to not have too much of an issue. They're the highest scoring team, but they seem to balance that with goals against.
Per game, third's fine.
So,
if you score more than anyone else and you're third in the league,
you're going to be good.
Pretty good.
Exactly. So I think, Rory, you're bang on. And now the next question, I think, will be, and we don't have this in our topics, and we don't have to necessarily get into it this week, but I think the next question will be, is Yorkton also in that group? Is there a fourth to this group, and is it Yorkton?
Not right now.
Not right now, I don't think, with their play the last couple of weeks.
Just they've been on a little bit of a slump where Weyburn has taken off, and we'll show the graphics. When you look at playoff teams as well, and we know how deep Yorkton is, and yes, come February 27th of the month, are we going to be talking about Yorkton, same odds to win a 100% we could.
Yeah.
But they're slumping right now. They've won one game in their last 5, and fallen away.
4 and 6 in the last 10.
They've fallen closer to in a battle with 7th and 8th place. Not to say they're going to be there, but 4th is getting hot.
Yeah.
In terms of, could someone catch 4th rather than Yorkton going up and catching 1st? It's falling away from them to be in the top 3, but yes, they could be.
Now, I also know what Yorkton fans will say. They'll come back. They'll say this. Yeah, but if we got our 3 wins from the forfeits earlier in the year, they would be right next to Weyburn in the standings. They'd have 53 points. Okay.
Very valid.
But we're not talking about the whole season necessarily. We're talking about right now and as they're playing.
Also
current.
in November, I said Yorkton was the best team in the SJHL as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, right now I'm not going to say that because right now they're not playing like the best team in the SJHL right now. So I mean, there's going to be ebbs and flows throughout the season. I just want to hit on Weyburn because Yorkton's a big piece on our next topic. When you look at playoff teams and people that have won the Stanley Cup, won the SJHL championship, yes, Melfort was dominated by that top line. But do you see guys that we don't talk about enough on this show that could be unsung heroes when the playoffs begin?
Sure.
And that's when you talked about the depth for York. Josh Carman, right?
Weyburn.
When do we ever Weyburn?
Yeah.
When do we ever talk about Blake Betson enough?
Right.
We always talk about
Never.
Jerome Maharaj and Ethan DK and Max Chakrabarty and Jackson Ruthven, Liam Fitzgerald, right? Blake Betson, Josh Sale, Josh Carman, Luke DK. They got these guys that can contribute and are contributing, not to the astronomical pace that the other guys are. That's why we talk about the other guys so much. But in the playoffs, these guys matter. And that's why I have them grouped into that top 3.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think they're right there. I agree with you, Rory. And they're proving it time and time again. They're playing fantastic. But let's move on because the next topic kind of has something to do with that.
Yeah.
So I want to give some time for this one. This is home ice hot seat. Now, the reason we're calling it home ice hot seat is because that 4th spot now, with that conversation we just had, that 4th spot is becoming the one that everybody's gunning for.
It's hot seat right now.
And it's very hot because we'll bring up the standings as of today, the new standings as of today. And you can see that all the teams are really battling now for that 4th. This is the old one. Thank you. We'll bring up the old one because we're coming back to that. But as you can see, between now 4 and 8 is 6 points difference. And that spot that we've been kind of talking about all year, it was for a while, Rory, about the 6th spot. We were talking 6 to 10 there for a long time. Now it's moved up. We're talking 4 to 8. And so what kind of numbers do you have on this? Because this is now becoming the battle that everyone's going to be paying attention to.
Okay, so it doesn't take long. Leave that up there for now, and you're 100% right. 2 weeks ago, not even 2 weeks ago, we were talking about 6 to 10, and Larange and Humboldt were divided by 1 point.
Yeah.
So what has happened with the 5 teams, we'll say Yorkton to Humboldt, since January 15th? That is 12 days ago. Well, Yorkton's gone 1-3, Battleford's has gone 1-3, Kindersley has gone 1-4, Melville's gone 4-1, and Humboldt's gone 4-0-1. So it's separated the playoff line from 8th to 9th, but it's completely tightened up 4 to 8, and it's made that hot seat because Yorkton, Battleford's, Kindersley have had a little bit of a slump. Melville and Humboldt have 9 out of 10 points and 8 out of 9 points respectively.
And if you're watching right now on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, you can see the flips back and forth here. So
this is January 16th. This is 11 days ago.
This is now what they're looking at. This is today. And then the flip will be the 11, 12 days.
So this is 11 days ago.
Yeah.
2 points separating 8th and 9th. Weyburn and Yorkton, 1 point separation. And Yorkton, 11 points up on Humboldt. 4 is a little bit away from 8. Obviously, Yorkton's closer to the top than they are to 8th. And and Kindersley and Battleford have a little bit of leeway on 7th and 8th, a little bit of breathing room. 11 days later, go back to what it is now. It's absolutely crazy. As Kindersley, right, is now Melville, Kindersley, Battleford, Yorkton. Everyone's fighting for 4. And now, I wouldn't say everyone's keeping their eye on LaRange because they've fallen off a bit. But, the 4th seat is not safe for Yorkton anymore. And now I think LaRange, who's desperately trying to go into the playoffs, they have more teams to try and strike. They're not just trying to strike Humboldt. They can strike Kindersley, strike Melville. If Battleford slides and loses 9 of the 10, LaRange just has more players to get up to. So, and I just love that comparison of 11 days having that much separation in the playoffs. This is what happens when Weyburn wins 5 games in a row. They separate from Yorkton, who loses 4 of 5 by 7 points. Humboldt gets 6 points away from a playoff home ice advantage spot by winning 4 out of 5 games. Melville as well, 4 points. I know they have games played over Yorkton, and then Battleford, Yorkton, and Kindersley, a little bit of a slip. So this is what's going to be throughout the final 15 games. And the big thing for me is swing games. So it's how many games remaining against the group that you are tight with the race do you have left?
Okay, yeah.
And those are big. Those are 4-point swing games.
Yeah.
Humboldt has the most with 10. So they're going to play 10 of the remaining 17 games against either Kindersley, Melville, Battleford, or Yorkton. Those are crazy games to swing.
Yeah.
Battleford is next. They have 9 games remaining. Kindo also 9 games remaining, and Yorkton and Melville, not a lot of swing games. They have 5 games remaining, 2 of which are against each other. So a lot of games against either the top 3 or the bottom 4, but controlling your destiny is beating the teams you are in the race with and leaving them behind you. And Humboldt, Battleford, and Kindersley, they're in the same division, obviously, it makes more sense, but they just have more opportunity to do that.
Now, Rory, just going to read a couple comments here from our viewers. We have one very biased viewer in the comments, and I just want to point them out.
That's fine.
The Flin Flon Bombers have commented in on Facebook and say, "Go Bombers, go!" Just so biased, they're such a homer. Like,
don't know what to do with those Bombers sometimes.
Honestly, sometimes you gotta hide your bias a little bit, Flin Flon. And speaking of Flin Flon, Sal Wallishin is watching. Weyburn has a roster full of 20s and 19-year-olds, as does Melfort, plus goaltending. The Bombers dress no less than 7 rookies every game. The championship goes through these 3 teams. And I agree. And we had Mike Reagan on SJHL Insider this past week, and he pointed that out, is that this year overall, and we're going back on a different topic here, but the Bombers have dressed a very young roster, given the fact that they're as good as they've been. They have a lot of young players. Wyatt Stinton comes to mind. We talked about a bunch of different names for them, and Mike just said that he's very impressed with the group this year. So I just wanted to point that out. Sal, you're 100% right. Great point.
They're young based off having rookies.
Yeah.
They also they're maxed out on 20s.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Like they have their full roster 20s that are going to play.
They have vets. It's just that
Melford has full 20s.
Yeah.
Weyburn has full 20s.
Yeah.
Right? Those are the guys that you need and are driving the 3 best teams in the league.
Yeah.
But yes, Flin Flon does have a higher group of rookies that are also contributing, where maybe Melfort, maybe Weyburn, less rookies, more 19-year-old second-year players that are helping them drive the way.
They're a bit more veteran for some of their depth spots. Let's move on. Just as he drew it up, Drew Kosher gets his first win as head coach and general manager of the Estevan Bruins against Kindersley over the weekend. Rory, did you have some interesting facts about this one, or where did you want to go? Did you just want to give a shout out to him?
I wanted to, yes, shout out Drew, obviously, who got his first win, and a spark offensively, at least throughout the weekend, with 11 goals in the last 2 games. Still playing for the playoffs. Long ways to go, I would say. It's a big stretch out of the playoffs, but this is not impossible for the Estevan Bruins. They certainly have the games in hand to make a push if they're able to gel. We just saw what a 5-game winning streak can do, what a 5-game losing streak can do. Yep. Yorkton was in that upper 4. They're now out. Weyburn's in that upper 3, right? Humboldt was 1 point away from being out of the playoffs. Now they're 7 points clear. So let's just give Estevan this little bit of a longer stretch with Drew at the helm. They just scored 11 goals in 2 games. I don't know if they've done that so far this season.
Probably
they were the
not,
lowest scoring offense of the year, all year. But the biggest thing is for me, these players, if Drew's given the full-time keys next year, obviously they have an interim tag next to him. I don't know what the Bruins' plans are. These guys are all fighting for their jobs for next year as well, right? You got to make a showcase for the coach, who very well might be the guy at the helm next year. And I know that they lost 2 of the games. They were third period last minute collapse in the Friday game away from winning both games against Kindersley. But, some good things to take away from Estevan, and congratulations to Drew on the first win.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a big shout out to Drew and everybody in Estevan, because obviously it was a big weekend for them. It was their parents' weekend. I know they had a big fundraiser. So it's a big weekend for the community. And like you said, they were a couple minutes away from basically pulling out both of those wins. So.
I think they were like 48 seconds or something.
Yeah, it was super late.
Kindersley scored 2 goals in 48 seconds to win.
They tied it up, and then I think Mason Buchert got the game winner in overtime, if I'm not mistaken. So big weekend, though, and maybe, hey, sign of things to come potentially in Estevan. That offense gets sparked a little bit. Who knows? And Steven Starenka, shout out to him. We'll talk about him.
It's pretty good.
As I watch these highlights, Rory, you can just see he had like 7 chances. He didn't score on all of them. He had a ton of chances. He's all over the ice. So we'll talk about him a little bit later. Spoiler alert. We do have a couple other things. Do you have any odds and ends you want to touch on, or should we move on?
No, but I guess I do need to fact check myself because we can't just be blatantly yelling out crazy things.
Can't do that.
Trailed by 2 goals. With 47 seconds left in the game.
Okay.
Scored with 47 seconds left to trail by 1. Scored with 11 seconds left to tie the game. Won it in overtime.
Yeah.
So 2-goal lead with a minute left. They were a minute away from winning it. And shout out to Kindersley for closing that out. A team that also came into that game, yes, facing Flin Flon, Melford, tough stretch, but they were losing more than they were winning in the last 5.
Yeah.
And then down by 2 with a minute left on the road in Estevan. Good luck. That's almost packed the bags, right? Let's go and focus on tomorrow. And for them not to, that's a shout out for Kindersley because, they still want that home ice advantage. But if you keep struggling, you're just pushing yourself closer to 8th, and that's now where no one wants to be.
Yeah, they needed a win too. Everybody does, but they needed a win at that moment too. Let's move on. Actually, let's quickly look at the division standings, just because we got to give a shout out to our division sponsors, Viterra, Sherwood, and Nutrien. As you can see, we've talked about this in depth, so I'm not going to go too deep on this. We just had a huge standings conversation. But again, you can see all of the past 10 games and who is doing what right now. And to your point, Rory, we look at Weyburn. They have the best record in the last 10 games in the league right now. So they are definitely proving themselves time and time again. And you got a team like Yorkton there. And we'll talk with Benny Walchuk in our next segment about Yorkton and Melville. So I don't want to talk too much more about them because we have a lot to get into with Benny. So we'll save it for that. But let's look now as we come back in here, as we look at the highlight of the week for Tourism Saskatchewan.
Is it you in your senior men's game?
I pulled the clip. No. It should be, though. Yeah, not me. It's not me, but it could have been. Let's look at Jackson Ruthven, a much more deserving recipient of the highlight of the week for the Weyburn Red Wings.
Left side, Chakrabarty will control, walks the line. Chakrabarty looking for a shooting blade, finds Maharaj. Maharaj getting into the offensive zone, back door, they score! Ruthven beats Farrell, glove side, not much of a chance for Farrell. The cross ice pass goes back door, and the Red Wings capitalize on the power play. A nice passing play there by Maharaj.
There we go. Now, I will say, I said Jackson Ruthven. That was Jerome Maharaj making that was the highlight. Jackson Ruthven, great shot on the one-timer, but that was Jerome Maharaj's highlight of the week.
Leads the SJHL in points now, 50 points, 34 games.
Not too bad.
Yep.
Big shout out to Chevrolet for all of our highlight packages, as you saw throughout the segment there, and as well over on our YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. We don't have a Nugs and Notes this week. Nugsy's not here. He's on the road with Marko Djordjevic, who I believe is watching still. So thank you to those guys. But Nugsy usually has if you're listening, Nugsy says great research, Rory, by the way, from the YouTube chat. Marko Djordjevic says great research, Rory.
Thank you.
Nugsy, if you have any Nugs and Notes.
On which point? Or just all of it?
All of it.
Just all my work.
You're a stud.
Thank you.
If you have any Nugs and Notes, Nugsy, and you want Marko to type them in, send them in. We'll read them next segment. But let's take a break because we do have Benny Walchuk on the other side of it, and we want to get to him. We have Terriers to talk about, Millionaires, and Showcase. So we have a lot to get to with Benny. We'll see you at the other side of the break.
Your new truck trade-up has arrived at Capital GMC. Volume pricing is back. As inventory levels go up, prices come way down. And right now, we have over 250 brand new GMC Sierras to choose from. Lease a Crew Cab 4x4 Pro Edition for only $269 bi-weekly plus tax with $0 down. Or work with our finance experts to get the best available rates. Plus, GM certified pre-owned inventory is back too. Shop over 150 vehicles, all makes, all models. It's finally time for your new truck trade-up, only at Capital GMC.
Each year, the SCSA issues over 10,000 training certificates to the construction professionals who build our province. That's the population of Martinsville. Learn more at scsaonline.ca.
Saskatchewan's far north is where the land itself inspires. It's the beauty and power of wilderness, the solitude of a place far removed from what you might know. When this landscape surrounds you, it's like nothing else. Come and let it awaken you, energize you. Come and create your story in our Northern Lights and Waterways. Saskatchewan.
In a year where Amazon sold its first book, Alanis topped the charts, and the Frappuccino became cool, we were there. Trusted by the Saskatchewan construction industry since 1995. Learn more at scsaonline.ca.
As a student, things can pile up fast. Ouch. But the RBC Student Banking Bundle makes back to school easier with up to $275 in value. That's a whole pile of takeout.
Introducing SaskTel Student Saving Tips. Tip number 138. You could build your own pallet furniture.
So you're living on your own. You can save money by building furniture with pallets.
Or get Infinet 150 for only $50 a month with SaskTel Student Deals.
Increase your home comfort with high-efficiency natural gas equipment. Sask Energy offers rebates so you can lower your energy use and save money. For a list of rebates, contact a participating network member or visit saskenergy.com.
Original 16. Celebrate things done well.
Welcome back inside SJHL Weekly. Myself and Rory McGouran are here, and we're going to be joined now on the video chat by voice of the Yorkton Terriers and Melville Millionaires, my good man Benny Walchuk. And you know what? He has his toes in the waters of the MJHL as well. So we're going to talk Showcase with Benny a little bit and have a good time. Benny, how you doing today?
Doing good, Clark. Rory, how's it going?
What's up, buddy? How you been?
Doing all right. Doing all right.
You know, this is a massive upgrade for us, Benny, because usually Nugsy is here with us, and you're a better-looking version of Nugsy. No offense, Nugsy, he says it himself all the time. But glad to have you here, Benny. Hardest-working guy in the SJ. We say that all the time, so I appreciate spending some time with you here. Let's start with Yorkton, because we just had a big conversation. I think you heard most of it, because I know you were in for a lot of that last conversation. We just had this conversation about the upper echelon of the SJHL. Yorkton was there for a very long time. We're just not sure if they're in that conversation. No, I mean, obviously they're in the conversation of top best teams in the league, but in terms of those top three, do you think that they are in that conversation, or where's your head at with Yorkton right now?
Yeah, it's kind of inconsistency right now. Offensively, of course they are. They could score with the best of them, but it's just kind of keeping the puck out of the net right now. They've had goaltending all season long from Callum Craig and Ethan Farrell, but maybe the last couple of weeks ago, maybe they haven't had as much a good goaltending as they have maybe in the past. And you can't just blame it all on the goaltenders. It's defensive structure behind there. They're a freewheeling team. They like to go up ice quickly and back the puck. So maybe maybe protecting the house a little bit better hasn't been as good recently. So I think they still are in that top 4-ish but they have to take advantage here. They're going to have great stretch here of home games. I think 9 of the next 12 here are at the Westland Insurance Arena. So it's been a stretch. It's been an adversity that the Terriers haven't seen all season long. So maybe comes at a good time here right now. But like Emery Lawson said on our coaches show this morning, it's adversity. It's great to face it, but we have to figure it out and before we get too far behind for that home ice advantage. So I think it's something they can figure out. And with the return to captain Jaron Denwye, I think not only is it great to play on the ice with 4 points in the last 2 games, but he just does everything in the dressing room, on the bench, anything like that. He's just a great presence on and off the ice.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's been producing all season so well. In your talks with Emery recently, Benny, especially since January 10th specifically, break down for us, Yorkton we thought might make a bit of a splash, and they didn't necessarily. So can you talk to us about what happened, if there's any discussions that you've had with Emery, just about the trade deadline and what went down, or I guess what didn't go down?
Yeah, like he admits they're on Mason Buchert, they're on Liam Hunks, they're on other guys across the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, but he just felt the price is a little bit too high. And he didn't want to give some of his younger players that have done pretty well effectively on much like the 06-born players. You got Evan Auld, you got Quinn Tavender, you got Vinny Junik, even as a 19-year-old. It's not necessarily saying those guys were in play to be traded, but he just didn't want to give some of those young players. And also the young defenseman, Bryce Dahl, Tyler Palin's got 10 goals in the season. Bryce Dahl, of course, is at the SJHL MJHL Showcase. So I think the price is a little bit too high for Emery to deal away some of those younger guys, even though it might have been increased here this season. He just felt the price a little bit too high. But he admits, though, he was in on those big dogs. And just one's the things when you need 2 to tango. And just right now, the deal just wasn't, it didn't make sense for the hockey club. He didn't want to disrupt his team too much.
You've been around the league for a while, with multiple teams. You talked about protecting the house. You talked about, just maybe shoring up a bit in front of their goaltenders. But when you look at the defensemen they've had, and we've been recently giving praise to all of these rookie standout defensemen, they come in with only 2 defensemen with experience. For yourself that has seen, teams in the top of the league, teams at the bottom of the league, teams that are veteran D, how impressed have you been with this group of rookie blue liners from start to now?
It's been outstanding. Like Tyler Palin, you talk about him. He's just an easygoing guy off the ice from Florida. But you look at him, he's got 10 goals in the season. He's very good in the power play, get shots through. And of course, Bryce Dahl, we talked about, and Bryce has been he reminds me of young Chase Norrish. I know Chase won the national title back in 2014, and he's got that little bit of a patience and that pace to him a little bit. So he's been outstanding. And you got Riley Cormier, Harrison Aldridge, some veteran guys, but those 2 in particular have been very, very good for the Yorkton Terriers. And of course, you can't go without talking Tommy Reese, and Tommy's been outstanding. He's that member that Clay Sleva and David Coyle traded last year, and they knew Tommy was going to be a good player, but he didn't know maybe how good he would be, and he's outstanding. Like, he's one of those guys, top 5 consideration for Rookie of the Year. I know his points and maybe not as high as some of those guys out there, but he blocks a lot of shots. He's very good in the penalty kill, and I wouldn't be surprised maybe even next year, the year after, that we'd be named Tommy Reese as captain of the Yorkton Terriers. He's got that calm, cool, and collected, kind of that farming attitude off the ice, and it's his presence on the ice. When he flips that switch, he's hard to stop. So he's a guy that's definitely going to get hopefully some great exposure at the SJHL MJHL Showcase. But those 3 rookie blue liners have been very good. I don't think Emery thought how good they were. And just this season, it's proving out that they are pretty damn good.
Yeah, anytime you trade away your captain and you can get a potential future captain in the trade, I think you're pretty happy with how that trade turned out. And so far, obviously, with David Coyle, not even mentioning him in that talk, it's worked out decently well for Yorkton, especially this season. I know, obviously, Melfort won the championship last year. Benny, how often do you get a chance to say that both teams win a trade? It doesn't happen all the time. I think this might be the case with the Clay Sleva trade from last season. Let's move down the road a little bit to Melville, who's playing pretty solid right now. They've put together some good games in a row here at a good time. I feel like they really needed this stretch. Can you just kind of fill us in on the last, I'll say 5 or 6 games for Melville, and is there a difference? What's the vibe around the team right now?
Yeah, it's like last few weeks, it was hard to get a smile out of Doug Johnson. And on the bus ride home on Friday night, there was a big smile on his face. He was joking around lots. He was very, very happy with his team's effort in Battleford. Like, did they play full 60 minutes both nights? No, but they played those 40 minutes or 45, 50 minutes that they did. They played pretty damn good. They held the Battleford North Stars to not many chances. And when they did have chances, their goaltending, which got a little bit of a question mark right now with the injury to Nick Jeanette, but Ben Lorette stepped in, was outstanding in that game 1, and then was very, very good in game number 2. But they're they're not the high flying team like with the Caden Juries and Ryan Rothke's now not with the organization anymore, but they're scoring by committee. They're finding some line combinations that are working out, and maybe some role guys that are scoring more, like Simon Preeney's scoring some more goals. Gabriel Carlson's hitting the score sheet a little bit more with a lot more goals as well, and also they're getting some good goals from the back end as well. So yeah, they're playing that Doug Johnson style. Maybe not the high flying ness that we had earlier in the season, but they're going back to what Doug does right, and they're getting some good goaltending, and their special teams getting much better. So it's been a pretty happy week here for the Millionaires. I know they have a lot of stretch here. I think in February time, they have 6 or 7 home games at home ice. So I'm sure these fans here in Melville are excited to see their team back coming up on Sunday.
You know, you mentioned a couple guys, and I appreciate that you did, because with the loss of the 2 leading scorers of the team, but combined with the system of Doug Johnson, knows how to limit offense, whoever they're going up against, do you feel that this team still has enough contributors to put the puck in the net to go on a deep playoff run, knowing that goaltending, when it's on, coaching, spectacular, a lot of good blue liners, but is that offensive punch still there? 2 games against the Battlefords proves that it can be.
Yeah, not the high end stuff. Like you have top lines like the Melford has, or some other teams. Yorkton has a good top line, Weyburn, and so far maybe Melville might have a little bit of advantage, maybe because they have depth. They don't really have one guy line you can shut down right now. Like the Devin Winder has been outstanding with Jaden Iogan on his left side. They've been good, but I think the depth scoring is definitely going to help this Millionaire team. I think they can. Are they going to score with the high flying teams? No, but when you come playoff time, you don't really have to score a whole lot. You just kind of manufacture your goals, be good on the special teams, and when you do get a lead, you got to protect. And what Doug has done a good job. So are they going to score a lot of goals? Probably not as much as they were at the start of the year, but when you come down here to thicken things here in the stretch run to the playoffs and battling for a playoff spot, you don't have to score as many goals. You just got to make sure you protect your house and keep the goals down and get the maybe needed goals and the goals at the right time.
Obviously, Jaden Iogan gets his NCAA Division I commitment. Just a little bit about him. You've seen him for a few years now. Spectacular talent when the puck's on his stick, and just, awesome achievement with the commitment.
Yeah, exactly. Like Jaden, if he scores on all of his breakaways he's had in his 2-year career, he could be a 50-goal scorer each and every year. But he's had so many breakaways. He either misses his net or he skates too fast that he runs into the net. Like runs into space. But he's an outstanding talent. He's quiet spoken, doesn't say a lot of words off the ice. When you get on the ice, he can fly. Like I've never seen a faster guy not moving his legs. Like it seems like he's not skating and he's blown by these defensemen. Like whenever you see a puck chip by a defenseman, it's a Jaden Iogan breakaway. He's got 3 shorthanded goals in the season, and with him and Caden earlier in the season, they were almost unstoppable shorthanded because those guys got into space and they're 2-on-1s. And I think they had about 10 or 12, and they only scored on one of them. But yeah, Jaden's a special player. He's a smart individual off the ice, so that's good. But he's a great player, and like you said, he's feeding off Devin Winder, who Devin came over that trade from Drumheller, and he's a big 6'3" body, only 18 years old, so he's fit in pretty well with Jaden. But yeah, just excellent achievement for Jaden, and it just proved that it doesn't matter where you are, you're going to be seen. And Jaden was seen by Tennessee State, and it's going to be probably start good to a good NCAA career, because I think that Jaden has a good NCAA talent.
Yep. Yeah, and of course, early returns on that trade deadline move for Melville, the 3-team trade that they made, those 2 18-year-old players, Louis Nadeau, the other one. It's paying off really good early on. I like where that's going. Benny, talk to me about the goaltending in Melville, because coming into the year, we weren't quite sure who it was going to be, and then they get the 20-year-old Loic Morin, and then he's out of town now, and quietly, I want to say, Nick Jeanette is fourth in both goals against and save percentage right now. And then Ben Lorette comes in also around the deadline time, and he's got good numbers as well. Can you talk about this goaltending tandem that they've kind of ended up with after 5 goalies have hit the ice for the Melville Millionaires this season?
Yeah, exactly. With Doug being around the league for so long, you basically just need to make a stop. Like you make the first couple stops, you're probably pretty good with Doug's defense, because a lot of them come back and you clean the house pretty good. But yeah, Nick's been good. He came from a very good program with Victory Honda last year. He had 6 shutouts last year. They had a great success. They won the state championship and national title last year with their U18 program. So I think it was just about Nick getting used to not only the SJHL, but moving away from home, being away from home for the first time here as a billet, and getting used to the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. And Nick's done a good job. The only thing is he's just kind of been hit by the injury bug here a little bit. But then you talk about Ben Lorette came in. He had great stats in Thunder Bay in the SJHL, and he's come in here maybe not as athletic as a netminder as Nick is, but he makes a good stop. He makes the biggest saves when you have to, and that's what you have to do for Doug Johnson's for defensive structure. So those guys have been outstanding, and when you get good goaltending with those guys, it kind of trickles up and down the roster. You get more confidence as a defense, get more confidence offensively. And yeah, both guys have been very good. And with Loic Moore, it's just tough to see Loic go down with injuries, off for a few months, but it's nice to see having success there with Verdun in the MJHL. He's a good young man. He was pretty much in Melville for the whole time with his rehab process, cheering on his guys despite not being able to play. So just a great young man as well, and wishing him all the best in Verdun too.
Obviously, MJHL, SJHL Showcase taking place this week. We've spewed a lot of praise and details on the SJHL side. We're going to do a little bit more on our final segment as well with some predictions. But I want to know more of the MJHL, right? I can fake it till I make it, but if you can't fake enough, then you probably can't make it. So MJHL, who are some guys that really, if you're going down to Winnipeg, if you're tuning in to watch, that you should key in on and are pretty high-end talents here at the Showcase?
Yeah, like the goaltending in the MJHL has been terrific. Christian Green with Steinbach's been outstanding, and a guy just from down the road, he's from the Regina area, Liam Ernst. Liam's been outstanding for the Winkler Flyers. They've been probably one of the most steadiest teams in the MJHL, so he's good. You look at Connor Paranuzzi of the Steinbach Pistons, maybe not the flashiest player, but he's effective, gets the job done. And we talk about Keenan Ingram in the SJHL with his wrist shot, but Caden Gulliver of the Dauphin Kings has a heck of a wrist shot as too. I think he has 33 goals in the season, and he kind of has that similar spot to Keenan on the power play. That's kind of his left-handed shot on the top of that right circle, looking for the trigger man on the right-hand side. So he's a couple guys to watch. So the young guys, Gavin Nemes of the Dauphin Kings, I think he's a very terrific young player for Dauphin. You got Grady Hoffman, of course, from the Yorkton area. He's been good as well, and then probably one of the better defensemen I've seen in both leagues is Naaman Hofer of the Dauphin Kings. I know Naaman played a couple of years with Winnipeg Freeze, but he's got a big opportunity with the Dauphin Kings, and he's one of the highest scoring defensemen, not only in the MJHL, but across the CJHL as well. So he got his NCAA scholarship. So I think SJHL might have a little bit of a more dynamic roster, but I think with this MJHL squad, I think their depth is pretty good, and I think up and down the roster, they're going to be hard to play against. So if the SJHL can get loose and get their offense going, it might be trouble for the MJ, but if they don't, this MJHL team is pretty good in between the pipes and pretty good defensively, so I think it'll be tough because MJHL's got some big D-man that are going to have to face off with the SJHL squad.
Clark, are you ready if I put Benny through the ringer here?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay,
yeah.
I don't want to catch you off guard, but you're going to have to go through the Rory's Rapid Fire, which some have stumbled. I don't expect you to stumble through. Presented by Elkridge. It is all Showcase related, and it's all predictions, so there really is no wrong answer, Benny. SJHL, MJHL Showcase. SJHL's had the MJHL's slight number in the past few years. Just where do you see the 6 games going? 3-3, 4-2, 5-1, 6-0.
I'm going to go 4-2 SJHL.
4-2 SJHL. If there was one line in the SJHL, you could put a couple from one team, couple from another team, but just a line of forwards. Again, don't want to put you on the spot, but a line combination or maybe a pairing of just 2 guys that you'd like to see play together for Team SJHL on any of the 3 teams, who would that be?
I'm going to go with SJHL Gold. I'm going to go with Jaden Iogan, Jerome Maharaj, and Ethan DK as a unit. So I think that's going to be a high-flying unit, and I think, they'll be tough to stop when those guys get going.
There's a lot of dynamic players from the Weyburn Red Wings especially, and he's going to pitch that question to me, and I still don't know who I'm going to say. Top scorer, who's going to lead the league, or who's going to lead the tournament in points?
Ooh, MJHL or SJHL?
Whoever you want.
Maybe pick one of each.
I'm going to go Gavin Nemes from the Dauphin Kings. Like for the MJHL side, I think that U18 game is going to be pretty wide open, I think. So I think there's going to be a lot of points there for that side. SJHL, let's go Ryder Ringer, I think, for the Flin Flon Bombers.
I like it. And final one, who is your favorite team to broadcast hockey for between the 3 that you... I'm just kidding. You don't have to answer, you don't have to answer that at all. I would never expect you to put them up against each other. But obviously, that's Rory's Rapid Fire. Thank you.
There you go. Crushed it. I mean, it was a quick one, but you crushed it.
Yeah.
Benny, I'm going to let you get going here because I know you got lots going on. Great work this year on everything you're doing, not just with the 3 teams, but everything you're doing online, all your articles, everything you're doing. Great work. Keep it up. We're always rooting for you here. Rory,
I had one more, and I was curious. If we could zoom back in full on Benny.
Oh, yeah.
The picture over your shoulder, is that Sidney Crosby and you, or no?
No, that is Taylor Thompson and myself after the... a little bit of different version of Benny Walchuk, a little bit more bigger version of Benny Walchuk, but that's after the 2020 or 2014 RBC Cup national title when Taylor and I grew up playing minor hockey together, so we had a chance to call his game, and he was a member of the Yorkton Terriers.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay.
Not quite Sidney Crosby, but that's Taylor Thompson.
It looked like it was a Crosby face in playoff mode with the
does,
beard.
yeah.
It looked like a little Crosby face. I was like, when did that picture get taken?
Benny was not in the building for the golden goal.
That was my last one.
I thought you were going to point out his wonderful Prairie Proud outfit that he's got on today.
Right.
Also repping strong, yes.
Yeah, there you go.
I've been waiting for my Christmas present since 2023, so I had to take matters into my own hands and get a few shirts from Clarkson.
Yeah. Now, Benny, I will say before you go, on that note, I put in a very good word for you with Cole Thorpe. I know you know Cole. You already know him.
Yeah,
but
I know Cole very well.
I put in a very good word that he needs to send you some stuff, and now we're putting it out into the ether. So, Cole, get on it. Send Benny some gear. There you go. Benny, thanks so much for joining us today. Good luck the rest of the way. We'll chat with you again soon.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. And thanks a lot for all you guys do for the SJHL and just showcasing everything across Saskatchewan.
There you go. Thank you, Benny. One of the better ones out there, I'll tell you what. All right, we're going to hit a break. When we come back, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the SJ side of things, at least, with the showcase, and then talk about what's coming up later this week. So stay tuned until after the break.
The Chevrolet Silverado 1500. Advanced power and capability to tackle the long hauls. Style to make a statement on the streets. Visit ChevroletOffers.ca to learn more.
Each year, the SCSA issues over 10,000 training certificates to the construction professionals who build our province. That is the same population as Weyburn. Learn more at scsaonline.ca.
When you buy a lottery ticket in Saskatchewan, your money really goes a long way. More than 12,000 sport, culture, and recreation groups receive funding from Sask Lotteries every year. Everyone wins.
My name is Kyle McIntyre, and I'm the commissioner of the SJHL. We have 12 teams spread out all over this amazing province. 12 teams that hit the road for a combined 324 season games. We take hockey players, and we make them better. We make them better at hockey and better at life. That's what the SJHL is all about. We have a great league, we have great teams, great ownership, the best fans, the best partners, and the best sponsors.
Sask Energy Network members are the best choice for natural gas solutions for your home or business. With comprehensive services like heating equipment maintenance, appliance installation, and in-store financing, they have natural gas solutions that go beyond heating to bring you the comfort, efficiency, and reliability of natural gas, both indoors and outdoors, all year long. For whole home natural gas solutions, network members burn brighter.
Introducing SaskTel Student Saving Tips. Tip number 236. You could dye your own hair. Or you could save up to $20 a month on a new wireless plan with SaskTel Student Deals.
Enjoying what's around you. That's what it's all about. Farm to table, in season, locally foraged, look out the window and that's exactly what you'll see on your plate. It's the kind of experience that you'll compare everything else to for years to come. And it's so close, you can almost taste it. Indulge in our unlimited lakes and parkland. Saskatchewan.
Original 16. Celebrate things done well.
All right, welcome back inside for segment 3 here of SJHL Weekly. I'm here with Rory McGouran. Thanks again to Benny Walchuk. Always love having that guy on. He's a wealth of knowledge, that man. And he's well-dressed. Very proud.
Yep.
Well-dressed.
Also met Sidney Crosby as well.
Barely met Sidney Crosby. So let's get to, it's time now to get to the Players of the Week. So let's bring in the beautiful Players of the Week graphic, please. Gentlemen in the back. There it is. Look at that. Look at that. Got him. All right, so we're going to start with the SGU MVP of the week, and we talked about him a lot. Holy cow, he got the highlight of the week. He got a lot of stuff. Jerome Maharaj of the Weyburn Red Wings. He had 6 points this week. I think when we decided this, I think he had 7 points. I think he might have had one taken away. Am I crazy in saying that?
No, I think he did have 7.
He might have had 7. But either way, 15 points in 10 games in January, well deserving of the MVP, regardless of how many points he had. Let's move on now to the Borgo forward of the week. We're going to his teammate now, Jackson Ruthven. 4 goals this week, 3 games, 6 points. He's on a 4-game point streak himself. Like you said, Rory, it's not just one guy on Weyburn. It's not just one line. They have multiple guys, and they're all firing right now. Very well done, Jackson Ruthven. The Super U defenseman of the week. Sorry, what am I trying to say? The Humboldt Broncos get one here. Oakley McIlwain. He had 5 points this week. In all, he is second in league scoring right now among defensemen. He had a goal and 4 assists this week, so well done, Oakley McIlwain. The SaskTel goalie of the week. Again, I said this earlier, it's becoming a broken record, Rory. It's every week, it's either Matthew Keeper or Angelo Zoll. It's just happened to be Matthew Keeper's turn this week. That's literally been, I think if you look back, I think the last 6 or 7 have been either.
It's tough to pry it from him. I mean, you got 2 shutouts this week, right? And the only team he lost to, well, that was the Weyburn Red Wings and Angelo Zoll. So,
and it was in overtime.
And it was no, so yeah,
or a shootout.
Yeah.
So yeah, well done.
They're just so brilliant right now, those two, that it's just going back and forth between the pair.
It's hard not to. Like you said, 2 shutouts, and they were on a southeastern road swing in Weyburn, Estevan, Melville, and Notre Dame. So well done, Matthew Keeper. The IKS Media Rookie of the Week. This guy keeps popping up everywhere. Steven Starenka. He has 9 points in 6 games since joining the SJHL after being reassigned from the WHL. And this week specifically, he had 5 points. He had goals and in both games that in 2 of the games that he played. So a big week from Steven Starenka. Well done there. He just keeps firing. And then the Cantera Seeds Saskatchewan Player of the Week, member of Rory's fantasy hockey team. Carter Cormier of the Flin Flon Bombers, 7 points this week. Led the league in scoring this week, actually. 16 points in 10 games in the month of January. And Rory, as you mentioned, kind of off air, very excited with how he's performing selfishly for your fantasy hockey team.
I mean, I'm excited that he's performing well as a league representative on this show, and he's having a great week for the Flin Flon Bombers, who haven't lost in regulation in 25 games, I think it is. But yeah, I think I checked the standings. Bryce was back there working on it for maybe a midweek post or something, and it's just keep swimming mentality. I was in last place, and in order to get to first place, you got to tie and pass everyone. Well, I've tied the 3rd place team right now, so I'm still now tied for last, which is better than being alone in last.
Yeah, definitely.
But I've made my first move, which is tying 3rd place. And then we got to pass him, tie you, pass you, and tie Nugsy, who's still in first, by I think 51 points. And then move past Nugs for that back-to-back championship. I foresee it on the vision board.
I'm hearing
down in the distance.
I hear the footsteps.
Carter Cormier this week is helping me make that come to fruition.
Yeah, there you go. So now, one thing, Rory, that we're going to have to sort out for me in that fantasy hockey stuff is that Leighton Carruthers might be out for a while, and I picked him as one of my replacement players.
Yeah.
So we might have to make an adjustment on that.
I am not the commissioner.
No.
That is Jacob Faith. We will have to get the official ruling if that is allowed.
We'll talk to Jacob Faith. We'll talk to Nugsy. Make sure everybody's on board.
Nugsy has no say. It's just Faith.
Yeah. Sorry, Nugsy. You're out.
He was injured when you drafted him, though. So
he was injured when you drafted him.
But it was very uncertain. So I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
That's kind of the reason I didn't draft Nikita Ivashenko, too, because he was kind of injured. He was gone away.
Sure it was.
We were all foolish for not drafting Nikita Ivashenko.
Yeah, we were all dumb. All right. Let's talk about the showcase one more time, and then we'll call it a show here, Rory. We've already talked about the rosters. Let's flash them really quickly one more time. If we go to Team Blue, there's the young guys, the youngsters, the hot young stars. What do you call them? I don't know what you're calling them. The young guns. That's probably the best way to say it. That's the group there. Let's move on to Team Gold. Team Gold, as you can see, here's the roster. This is with Rylan Williams coming in for the aforementioned Leighton Carruthers. And on the first team, Team Blue, as I forgot to mention, Turner McIntyre has been replaced by Ian Biors of the Notre Dame Hounds. So this is the roster here for Team Gold. And Team White, to wrap it up, this is the roster for Team White. No changes here. Everybody's healthy, thank goodness. So we're happy with that. So Rory, as you used to look at these names, top scorer, who do you think? You asked Benny, who do you think your top scorers are going to be?
You know, fresh off of the World Junior A Tier B with Team Ukraine, coming back into the battle for its North Stars, already picking up hot, right? Getting over that, a bit of an injury, a bit of a sickness that he had. And I like his style of play in a best on best kind of all-star. I feel like he can gravitate a lot of attention.
Yeah, sometimes skill takes over,
but
right?
also, like, I think he just has a presence where teammates will kind of follow. I'll take Nikita Ivashenko as the leading scorer in the tournament. They only played 2 games, so it won't be a lot, but maybe 4 points in 2 games. Yeah. That'll be enough to do it.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Is we're not looking at a World Junior-esque tournament. This is 2 games for every player. So who gets the most points in 2 games? It's not like a 7-game tournament or something where you can rack up 14 points or something like that. I'm going to go with Zach Summers. I just have a weird feeling about this tournament for him. I think it's going to be really good. He's going to have a really great showing. So I'm going to go with Zach Summers for my top scorer, especially from the SJ.
And I do believe it's happened multiple times in recent years. The leading score comes from the Young Guns team. It's always a higher scoring game. So and both of us didn't pick a Young Gun, which you know, a little risky if we're making predictions.
Yeah.
But I think it's come from the Young Guns team in a lot of years past. But,
if I had to
keep an eye out for that.
If I had to pick a Young Gun guy, we talked his praises on Thursday when Mike Reagan was here. I'd probably go with Cohen Senft.
Yeah, Cohen Senft.
Again, World Junior A Challenge.
Connor Miller.
Connor Miller's in that conversation as well, I would say. Guys to look out for. Very, very well, high-performing players there, so I think that they would show well. The SJHL record, you asked Benny this one as well. What do you think? Now, we're looking at this from an SJHL perspective, so what do you think the SJ will do record-wise in the 6 games?
I like
Are you second-guessing yourself?
I like his 4-2 SJHL. Find the game ahead, come out victorious. If it's 5-1, it wouldn't shock me. But I do like 4-2. I do remember watching the SJHL Showcase or the showcase here for the World Junior Challenge. The MJHL's got some great talent. So 4-2 SJHL, I think, is right on point what Benny said.
I would hate to underestimate the MJ, especially like you said. That's a good point. Seeing them at the MJHL
they were good.
The showcase
really good.
earlier in November in Warman. They did, I would say over the 2 games, they definitely outperformed Saskatchewan in that setting. But in this setting, I just feel like, I'm going to go 4-2 as well. I'm going to go as far to say I think the young guns will split. And I think the SJ will go 3-1 in the 20-year-old games, in the under 20 games. I have a weird feeling that Team White might sweep Team Saskatchewan, or SJ's Team White.
I do like Team White. And when you told me to build my dream line, I went with Team White to build my dream line as well.
Yeah, there's some good players on that Team White. No offense to Team Gold or anybody else, but I just feel like Team White might have the horses. No offense, no offense. That's not what I meant. No pun intended, because the Mustangs and the Broncos are both on that team. But let's go with top defenseman. Who do you think top defenseman will be?
You know, I've picked him since the start of the year, and just his game is always impressing me. Oakley McIlwain, I'm going to go with again. I picked him to lead the SJHL in defensive scoring. He's in 2nd place right now, only behind Max Chakrabarty, who was a revelation this year from BC Junior B. McIlwain comes in riding a 4-game point streak, 5 points in his last 2 games. Feeling confident. Broncos are playing confident. I'll take him again.
It's hard not to pick Max Chakrabarty just because he's so dynamic. And like Benny said in his interview, there's a little bit more dynamicness on the SJ teams.
You look at Team Gold where Chakrabarty is. I mean, is he your guy to quarterback the power play, or is it Liam Hunks, Luke Lepper, Ryland? Right, like
all of them could.
All of them could.
Really.
Right. Chakrabarty does. I think he's 2nd, or he's definitely top 1 or 2. Maharaj might be 1st in power play points in all SJHL skaters. He's also 1st in defensive points. So it'd be hard-pressed not to go Chakrabarty, but I feel that Team Gold has a lot more power play quarterbacking defensemen than Team White does. So maybe just a little bit of a battle for Chakrabarty to get ice time on the power play, where he might play 1 minute and 30 seconds of Weyburn power play time and get a lot of points there.
So with that in mind, I'm going to go with Jackson Herchak. And just avoid the 20-year-olds altogether.
Pick,
I'll just go with Team Blues, Jackson Herchak. All right, top goalie. Who do you think will have the best showing? Because now you have to remember, each goalie is just going to get 1 game. So who do you think is going to have the best game is kind of a hard question to ask, but I don't know. Who do you think is going to have the best game?
Let's stick with Team White. I like that team a lot. Where they're going to be a nightmare to go up against. And let's go Melford's Christian Coombs to have a bounce back performance.
Sure.
Struggled in Nipwood. Well, maybe he had the showcase on his mind. Now go to the showcase and perform.
I'm going to go with Matthew Keeper. I mean, he's coming off of a lot of great performances, but at the same time, Rory, he also has some of the most experience in junior hockey, and I think this kind of stage isn't going to shake him at all. I'm going to go with Matthew Keeper for this one. And let's have some fun now. We're going to put the lines or the rosters back up, guys, in the back, just so you know. Line predictions. So what's a line? Maybe we'll go with really quickly, where we can do this pretty quick.
Okay.
A line and a defensive pairing that you would like to see on each team. Now, it's easy to say for the defensive pairings. I know I'm throwing you off because we didn't talk about this, but for the defensive pairings, I'm going to say let's try to not pick teammates, because it's easy to put teammates.
No, I wouldn't even do that for a forward combo.
Yeah, so let's go with try to
make-believe.
avoid teammates if you can. Let's have some fun with this
and
one.
And Nugsy did comment, good research. I've done no prep on it. I have no idea you're going to ask me this question.
No, I threw this one to you late.
On all teams. I only had one line ready, and it wasn't on this team.
Let's just have some fun with it.
First.
Let's have some fun with it. So for Team Blue, I think it's, for me, and you probably agree with me on this one, with this roster the way that it is for forwards, I'm going to go Connor Miller with Cohen Sempt, and I'm going to put Raiden Zacharias actually on this line. Raiden Zacharias, Connor Miller, Cohen Sempt. They all played together, not necessarily on the same line, but at the Warman Showcase earlier this year. They all showed pretty well. So I'm going to say that'll be my Team Blue line that I would like to go with.
Connor Miller, Will Witter, and Rylan Wheeler. I feel like that's a big, good centerman up front. They have actually multiple centermen on that line who could switch.
Yeah.
Wheeler, speed down the wing. Miller, physical presence. Witter also, doesn't get talked about enough for what he's doing in Nipwood.
Sure.
Miller, Witter, Wheeler.
What about defense? What do you think on this one?
You got to, Herchak and Reese.
Yeah,
let's go with two. I mean, we knew that Herchak would be as advertised. Thomas Reese has blown you away this year with how good he is.
Yeah.
And already, those are two of the toughest guys to body check and knock down. You think they're scared to go in the corner and get the puck? They haven't been all year. Herchak and Reese.
Shot blocking too.
Love it.
I'm going to go a little different there, just because that was my answer too. But I'm going to go.
You can do the same.
No, I'm going to go Simon Martin from Weyburn, and I'm going to go Nathan De Silva from Larange. I think both those guys a little bit under the radar, but I know both their coaches rave about them all the time. So we'll go with Simon Martin and Nathan De Silva for this one. We don't have to worry about the goalies. Let's go to Team Gold. Now this one's fun. Now we get into the big names, obviously, of the veterans. So I'll start here first. Or did you have a line ready for this one?
No, you go. You're good. You're good.
So I'm going to go with, I'll start with Mason Buchert, and I'm going to put him with, let's see here. This is so fun. We can go in a whole bunch of directions. We'll put him with Jackson Ruthven, and I'm going to put Kent Moores in between them. So Kindersley's Mason Buchert, or Larange's, I guess. Kent Moores in the middle, and Jackson Ruthven, because I think that would just be a really interesting trio. Not necessarily the highest scorers in the league, but I think that trio would be really good.
Okay, I'm not touching a line that doesn't involve Jerome Maharaj on it, so I'm going to take Jerome Maharaj. I think sneaky, underrated creativity because of where they are in the standings is Kent Moores.
Yeah.
The guy is a similar vision artist as the top point scorers in the league. Just maybe doesn't attribute the points due to Esteban being lower scoring, but so I want to see Kent Moores with Jerome Maharaj, and then I want a super responsible centerman. I know Moores can also win a draw, but give me Keith Gruner to start with the puck, win the faceoff as Gruner does notoriously, and then Maharaj and Moores just get creative with it. So that's my forward pairing.
I really like Benny's. He said Iogan, DK, and Maharaj. Obviously, you're splitting the teammates up. So if I had an honorable mention line for this one, I would go Iogan with DK and Ryder Ringer. I think that would be another pretty solid line.
Okay.
A defenseman for this one.
Yeah, Max Chakrabarty, Liam Hunks.
Easy.
Offense. Offense galore.
I'm going to go with Boston Harkness and Kieran Ronan. Size, I think they got some skill. I think they'd be really hard to play against. So that would be the two I would go with. Rylan Silzer is I love Rylan Silzer too, so that's hard to leave him off.
That's your extra attacker when the goalie gets pulled.
Yeah. Let's go with Team White and finish this up here with Team White. This is a fun group. I really like the mix here. Like I said,
group.
I think they could win both games. I really like the mix. And obviously when you have, the teams like the high-flying Yorkton Terriers mixed with the structurally sound but also high-flying Melfort Mustangs, mixed with the scrappy, humble Broncos, mixed with, who else is in there? Battlefords. It's just a good group of teams. So I don't know. What do you think for forwards? Do you want to start with this one?
Yeah, I had a line already picked. Riley Kotai. I know he didn't dress in the last couple games. I don't know the insight of what his total health is, but I'm assuming he's going.
I haven't heard that he got replaced.
No, he's going, so he's playing. Riley Kotai, Nikita Ivashenko, Jaron Denwaye. I think you have some lethal shots in there, plus a guy who can put it on a tee. Good luck getting the puck off them. Because none of them are easy to take the puck off of. So Kotai centers, left wing Denwaye, right wing Ivashenko.
Love that. I'm going to go with Zach Summers on this one because I think he's going to have a big couple of games here. And I'm going to put him with two of the best scoring forwards in the league. I'm going to go Keenan Ingram and Jacob Streetsy. What a line that would be. And that matches with yours. So you can have one line there, and the other line would be that. And then we go with Renus and Belton and Banoche. There's some really good lines here. Hutchinson, Kaufman, and who am I missing? Coyle. There's some really good lines. Obviously, you'll probably see the Terriers play together. You'll probably see Melfort play together. And same with Team Gold and Blue, obviously.
I feel like we always dream of these lines, but then when you watch it, it's Belton, Hutchinson, and Kotai. You know what I mean? Or Summers. It's just the Melfort Mustangs play together. Broncos play together. But Yorkton plays together. They know each other. But we're going to have some fun here.
What about defense?
Again, I'm not putting anyone together. So I like the line of Jordan Grill and Nick Andrusiak. Battlefords and Melfort, respectively.
And I'll go Thornton and McElwain. I think that's a good pair as well. So there you go. We just made the lines for you. Coaches, take a break. We just made the lines for you. You don't have to worry about it anymore.
We'll probably see none of those throughout the showcase.
No, they won't. The coaches are going to do what they want to do. That's fine. Rory, we're going to move on. That's the showcase talk. We're going to move on. Just check out what's going on the rest of the week. So obviously, actually first, let's put the showcase schedule up to show everybody what's going on. So today, the teams are getting there. They're arriving. They're practicing. I think they have a practice later tonight. And then tomorrow, it starts at noon. The 20-year-old Gold team is going to face the MJ Red team. And then at 3 o'clock, the Whites will play the MJHL Black team. And then at 6 o'clock, the young guys will play the 18-year-old Blue against the MJ's White. And then on Wednesday, what am I trying to say? Wednesday, it starts a little earlier for travel purposes. 11 a.m., 2 p.m., and 5, you'll see those games. The 20-year-olds flip-flop who they play, and the young guns play again at 5 o'clock. So that'll be good. And then, because the SJ is off, with everybody obviously missing a good chunk of their rosters, we won't be back until Friday, and it's a bit of a quieter day on Friday. However, the top game on this list is the SJHL Game of the Month for SaskTel in Estevan, so that should be a great time. Rory, you'll be there.
I will be there.
You're on the call for that one.
With the great crew, SJHL SaskTel Game, Neugebauer will be back.
And you're skipping your own game for this one.
Well, yes, I do yearly have to miss a couple to fill in on the Game of the Month side, but this is a solid Viterra division rival, and it's just a lot of great storylines lining up to this. Weyburn coming in 9-1 in their last 10 games. I don't know if they're the hottest team in the SJHL right now. Flin Flon might have something to say, but Weyburn did just beat them. So maybe they are against Estevan with a new coach. It'll be the first game between these two with Drew Kosher as the head coach, wanting to put that stamp on the highway rivalry and get the victory in his first one between Estevan and Weyburn. So this is a really cool story in the Game of the Month on SaskTel Max TV Live.
And quick little shout out to Turner Ripplinger, who I just learned over the weekend is Drew Kosher's assistant coach. So shout out to Turner. Former, championship-winning Bruin.
I'm glad also to see that no one booked a game on Thursday like the Battleford North Stars did last year in Notre Dame. It's like they got back at 1 in the morning. It might have been a reschedule, but they had to play the day after the showcase after half of them got back in the middle of the night. And
not great.
It was wild.
And then on Saturday...
They still won.
And on
Saturday... I think it was a couple years ago.
Was it
Josh Kotai was playing.
Yeah, you're right. Because he even mentioned that in our interview.
9-6
He mentioned that in our interview, with him last week on this show. Battleford's is in Humboldt on Saturday. You'll be back for that one.
Yes.
And then Melville's playing Nipawin. Estevan's going to be playing Weyburn. Again, they flip-flop venues in the Highway 39 rivalry. Melfort against Flin Flon. Hello. Get your tickets now for that one up in Flin Flon. And then Larange against Kindersley with a ton of playoff implications on the line.
Dude.
Larange needs a W there.
They haven't played each other yet this year.
Oh, wow.
They got 4 games remaining, Larange and Kindersley.
That's actually huge.
And there's, 8 points separated?
Talk about swing games.
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah.
It's absolutely huge. They'll play Saturday and Sunday, Larange and Kindersley. They'll also have 2 more matchups against each other later in the season. these are Larange's huge games for Larange. They got to take 3 out of 4 against Kindersley to try and drag them into at least a fight for the final spot.
Yeah.
Because Humboldt's looking like they're pulling away a bit. Kindersley was pulling away. Now they're sliding. So if Larange can catch them in this slide, here's an opportunity to get back within, a 4-game race for that 8th spot.
And do we have Sundays? Do we have Sundays schedule as well?
No.
Okay, there is 3 games on Sunday. Larange is going to be in Kindersley again. It's the same game, back-to-back nights. Yorkton will be in Estevan, which again should be a pretty good one. And then Nipawin is in Melville. So there you go. 3 games on Sunday.
We're crazy not to mention that the Larange Kindersley first matchup will be Buchert against his former team.
Yes.
It'll be Alex Mack.
Right.
Right. Again, Dayton Tailfeathers against his former
Sunday.
team.
Yeah, there you go.
So.
There you go.
There's a lot of that game. Playoff implications, rivalries now, out-of-division rivalries, former players playing against former teams.
Yeah.
That's a great game to watch on Saturday.
And sneakily, Rory, you talked about it a few times, but sneakily, there is under 20 games left for, I think, every team now in the league. Under 20 games remaining, for every team in the league. So we're getting down to the nitty-gritty, guys. In every game, there's so many 4-point games coming up. There's so many rivalry games at the end of the season. So it's going to be a great time. Now's a good time to get your tickets for the rest of the season. Or if you can't get your tickets or you can't make it, get your Flow Hockey subscription. Now's a great time for that. You can watch all the action, catch all the action on Flow Hockey. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on X, follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and of course here on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button because we got you covered for everything you might miss if you can't get to the rink. But try to get to the rink because these games are heating up. No joke. Rory, final words on the week, upcoming, the showcase. What do you got?
Very excited for the showcase.
Yep.
Very excited for the game of the week. And somehow, even without Nugsy here, we still went for an hour and a half. Really thought it would be an hour show today.
Hour 21. We should, if we wrap it up right now.
Nugsy's worth 9 minutes, I guess.
Yeah, 9 minutes. Nugsy, your wins above replacement, your minutes above replacement is 9.
That's what we've come out to agree
That's
to.
what we figured out. One more shout out to our sponsors before we go. Of course, Canterra Seeds, Borgo, Capital Auto Mall, Sask Lotteries, Chevrolet, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, Nutrien, Tourism Saskatchewan, Sask Energy, UPL, SGEU, Great Western, SGI, and RBC. We'll be back with SJHL Insider, myself and Nugsy, when he gets back from Winnipeg on Thursday. We'll recap the tournament and do one more preview into the busy weekend coming up. And until then, enjoy the showcase, everyone, and get your tickets for the weekend because it's going to be some great hockey coming up down the stretch. For me, Clark, for Rory, for the guys in the back, Bryce, there's Bryce, there's Jordan. Rolf's in there too somewhere. Shout out to everybody back there. And thanks for everybody for tuning in. We'll see you on Thursday. Enjoy the showcase. Bye for now.